This
Yep.
is legit. How do you report? Like, what is the process behind what can you do to track those metrics, and how do you measure a successful campaign with a social media influencer versus, say, an email campaign?
Yeah, brilliant question. So when we think about social, right, it is a funnel, like everything. Social
Right.
media and influencer marketing is a new form of a funnel. And so
Okay.
traditionally we have TikTok at the top of the funnel, and then middle of the funnel is more Instagram, and then the bottom of the funnel is where you're getting people's email, you're doing newsletter, really that
Right.
own channel. So when we think about it like a brand awareness machine. First and foremost, we look at the brand awareness level and we say, what did we do from an impression, a likes, a comments, and a share portion? So we collect all
Right.
that data per post. It's updated every hour. It's shown on our
Okay.
dashboards. And then the idea is to get that content out in the world.
Hey, welcome back to the show. And today I'm super stoked to have Christian with us. Christian, tell us who you are and what do you do?
Todd, thank you very much for having me. So I'm Christian Brown, 26 years old, and I'm the co-founder and head of marketing at Glewee. And so
Love
with
it.
that comes quite literally 1,000,001 responsibilities that I focus on all day long, and I enjoy every single minute of it and love all the work that we're putting out.
All right. Literally 1 million. You said literally, so I got to know, do you like have like a ClickUp list of like a million and then one task that you're doing, or what do you got going on here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like everything from all general marketing, SEO, product, email, social, organic, earned, paid, all sorts of media and strategy. It'll all
Love it.
flow through me. So yes, organization is quintessential to actually getting all of this done. But I think that is really just the true thesis of the startup.
Love it. Well, being that you are a marketing company, to be CMO of a marketing company means that you are likely involved in a lot of operational things of the company. Walk us through this. Like, what does your company do? What is Glooey? What problem are you guys trying to solve? Give us a brief backstory on where you're at.
Absolutely. So Glooey is an end-to-end influencer marketing platform. So with that
Okay.
in mind, what we've done is we've created a true marketplace. With that comes two sides. We have our brands. So think brands, businesses, agencies on one side. On the other side, we have influencers. So content
Okay.
creators, influencers that specialize in creating content on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc. So with that, what we do is we've created our platform, and it is a tool and a tech engine essentially to power all ways that brands can not only find the right pre-vetted influencers for their brand, but connect with
Right.
them, chat and collaborate with them, sign
Okay.
contracts with them, and then execute the entirety of an influencer marketing campaign in multiple parts, all in our platform. And once the brand and creator have created these campaigns, they've launched content to social media promoting the brand's products or services, everything down to the data, the sales, the ROI, it's all tracked in our platform for brands to see so that every brand, whether they're a startup or an SMB brand, all the way up to enterprise, they can do influencer marketing fast, easy, and affordable.
Love it. Okay. That sounded like you wrote that all out and read it, but I know you didn't. Like, this is something you say a lot. Like, that's a lot to pack in there. And there's a lot to this because a lot of people listening to this, they have either dabbled in social media influencer marketing or they know that they want to and they don't know how to do it. And I'm guessing the reason most people don't, myself included, is that it's weird. It's like, how do you do the contracting? Like, how do I even find these people? How do I connect someone on DMs and just say, if I hit 100 people on DMs and say, hey, would you be willing to talk about my business? They're going to be like, yeah, whatever. You've got 20 followers, right? I mean,
Right.
like, this is a big deal. So how did you kind of formulate that whole end-to-end strategy? And how does it help people like me, the old guys?
So, oh yeah, we can dive all the way in. So from a historical level, right, talking backwards, when
Yeah.
we were about 17, 18, I was working through some online brands that I have started, and primarily in the e-com space. And I was spending a lot of time
Right.
working between Massachusetts, where I grew up, New York, Chicago, where I went to school, and Los Angeles, like bouncing around a lot, primarily with people that I had met online on social
As
media.
a
Mainly
17-year-old?
17, 18 is when it really started. Then 18, 19, 20 is when like we were really really
Okay,
moving around.
you just glossed over that so quick that like let's just let that sink in for a second. Okay, he's 17, 18. He's already traveling between Boston, New York, and LA, negotiating relationships with social media influencers. All right. That's great.
And
That's
these are
freaking
like
nuts,
at the
dude.
point.
Way to go.
Thank you. At that time, it wasn't really as like formal, right, as it
Yeah.
sounds. It was more like all of our friends were really starting to take off online, and these were just friends of ours,
Gotcha.
whether we met them on Instagram, whether we met them in real life, and it was kind of everyone was navigating the space accordingly. So I'm 26 now,
Love
so
it.
we're talking 8 years ago, and so
Yeah.
this is like pre-TikTok. So this is just Instagram and YouTube were the primary socials. Twitter existed, Facebook was on its way out, and so at that time, people were really figuring out like, okay, as a younger person, how do I monetize my
Yeah.
following? How do I get these big deals? And then how do I manage it? And so that's where I met one of my best friends, Dylan.
Cool.
And he had mentioned, he's like, he was doing a lot of the management as well. And we are kind of looking at it and saying, all right, there's a lot of moving pieces to this, right? There's contracting, there's
Right.
communications, there's the business acumen that goes into chatting with a representative at a brand that wants to pay you $20,000, right? A lot of younger people that are specialized in creating content online, they may not have all of that in their toolkit. And so we looked
Totally.
at that, and throughout the university experience, I spent a lot of time with like our group and really learning how to like navigate this space. And then at the beginning of COVID, which was at the end of my senior year of college, Dylan, who was in that group, he had messaged me and said, I think that we should really start something in the tech space like this. And, I was freshly 22, he was 21. I said, well, we have a lot of time on our hands starting today with the news that school was going online. And then we started our platform. And so like the essence of the platform really is to take everything that is manual on both the brand and influencer side, really re-identify it, and then create a technological solution to simplify it at scale. So like I mentioned, and even how you mentioned, right? Brands, businesses looking for influencers, they don't know necessarily where to start. And they certainly didn't many years ago. At this time, there weren't a lot of social media teams at big companies or influencer marketing managers running big orgs. Like this was a newly developing space. And so we wanted to create a platform so simple that quite literally my grandmother understands it and knows how to use it. And now my grandmother actually knows everything about our company, whereas for a while it took a lot of learning. But she's a huge
That's
fan.
so
She
awesome.
loves it. But we
pause right there because I just want to draw a parallel because this is so awesome. I love the way you're telling the story, and I love your story because flashback to 1999. That's when I graduated college, and that's when I was like, that's literally when the .com boom was happening, and it was like companies were thinking, do I need a web page, or can I just ignore that for now? And you made this in your initial like description there was like, this is pre-TikTok. And I was like, I just had this thought of like, this is pre-internet, and it's like, there's literally these funny parallels. But I got to tell you, like back in that time too, it was like, how do I explain what I do to my in-laws? How do I explain what I do to my grandma? And I had these exact same conversations with business leaders of that time. And so I love your story because it resonates really, really loudly with me. And I think that's what, you and I have met now a couple times. And I think that what resonates is that you were this young, aggressive CEO or CMO, a co-founder of a business selling the new stage of tech. Whereas I was in the same boat with a couple of partners launching some tech related businesses at the time, stressing about the Y2K problem. And you're now stressing about TikTok shutting down 2 days ago. And like, where do we go from here in case this happens again? You know what I mean? Like, this is so fun. So just keep on going. But I just had to draw that parallel. This is a very cool thing. And for those listening, Christian is an example of what we need more of in this Gen Z generation of like, how do we create these entrepreneurial mindsets and the enablement to do what you're doing, Christian? This is not something most kids do. And so even though everyone's aware of the industry you're building right now, you are actually doing it. And so kudos to you and your partner. And I just want to give you a pat on the back of like, dude, I love this. And for those listening, if you're not just aggressively going after a skill set or a thing that you know how to do and put a package on it, figure it out and do it. So Christian, keep going, man. I love where you're going with this, dude. I just want to give you some kudos there.
Thank you very much, Todd, and very well said. And I think actually this is a good time. So I'm going to actually wrap where we're at in the story into what you said. So you mentioned the .com era, right, which I've studied extensively. And with that, people had to look at it and say, do we need a web page? Right. And I think that, like 100%. You mentioned, that was 1999. If this makes you feel any better, I was 1 year old. And so now
makes me feel worse. I got a baby 1 year younger than you.
So when we look at like the timeline of what happened in the .com era, right, we think back to 2004, 2006 when Facebook was started, 2008 to 12 when the Facebook ad library came out, then came YouTube, in the Google YouTube era, right? And like then the conglomerate started, and then social media as an entity really grew and began. We had the fall offs, like we had Tumblr that came and went, and we had a lot of the blog era that kind of got outdated. Then came Instagram, and then Facebook bought them for $1 billion. Right now is TikTok and Snapchat, all those. But like when we think about it, right, and how myself as like a Gen Z native, when I think about a brand or a business, right, back in the .com era, people would say, do we need a website? And then eventually everyone said, everyone needs a website, right? It's an afterthought. You need it, right? Now for a Gen Z consumer like myself and hundreds of millions of others, everyone goes first and foremost to social media. And so social media, all of the social media pages, a brand or a business's Instagram page, they're now TikTok, right? And how it's linked to their brand. All of that needs to be cohesive with the brand identity, the messaging framework, etc. And so now that everyone is very acknowledging of the social media, the necessity of social, I should say, now people are really kind of waking up to the idea of, well, we need to have this social media presence. We need influencers behind it to really amplify it, to add fuel to the fire, and we need a strategy around it.
100%.
And so years ago, we really sat down and said, we know that every brand is going to need influencer marketing. And then we looked at the marketing, the true concept of like the pieces of the pie in marketing. There's out of home, there's traditional, there's digital. Within digital, there's meta ads, there's search ads, there's however you want to slice it. If you want to pay for newsletters, you want to be placed here, do that. We looked at that and we said, we are confident, and this is when we were 22 and 21 years old, we are confident that in years' time, in a couple of years, everyone will be looking at the marketing mix and the digital marketing channels and having influencer marketing in there. Fast forward a couple of years, $26 billion industry as it stands right now, and only set to grow exponentially. And so going back to where we were starting is we looked at that and said, we want a platform that is made for the SMB, that small to mid-sized brand that's coming out of their startup era, not Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola is a true enterprise company. We know they might
and they know what they're doing.
They do, right? And they can build a team up that is going to power this on their own. We want the company 3 tiers down that aspires to be like Coca-Cola. We want to empower them with the ability to, for a reasonable price, right, with good technology, find the right influencers to reach an audience the size of a Coca-Cola post, but with an influencer. And that's where, that's where it really began, is empowering others through the technology to do that. And over the course of the last few years, we've been able to do it. And, as I say it out loud,
I love it.
Sometimes it's almost frightening to think back on that, but, we've been able to do that in full force in our marketplace that we've created. It's incredible. And then it's truly a machine. And we talk about it like a flywheel, right? The more brands in the ecosystem, the more campaigns, which means the more influencers, which means the more social media posts. And as that flywheel rotates, 360 degrees, it's up to us as the operators of the business to scale that up and continue to ensure that this marketplace is working around the clock, which
I am so glad you're here. And I just wanted to take a few seconds to tell you about a program that we have assembled with a lot of our podcast guests and a lot of people who are listening to the show who are feeling the same way that they do. There's a recurring theme. You'll hear a lot of these founders talk about, I couldn't have done it without my team. I couldn't have done it without a support group of peers. I couldn't have done it without having someone to talk to that understood my feeling of isolation as an operator of my business. You see, you're not alone. It is hard running a business, and it's even harder when you know you can't express all your deepest concerns and frustrations with your executive team. It makes them nervous. It gets them scared. You don't want scared people on your executive team. So where do you turn? The Captain's Council is where you turn. The Captain's Council, it is an organization that we are put together with podcast guests, as well as people who are listening who are in the same boat. You see, peers are the only ones that can give you the type of empathy, the type of advice that only a founder or operator know and understand. Go check it out at captainscouncil.com. I know you're going to love what you see there. We have put together an organizational structure that has small group settings, a global community of founders and operators, as well as monthly and quarterly in-person events. You're going to love what you see there. I can't wait for you to check it out and enjoy the rest of this episode. I love it.
That's our goal.
A big deal to me as a Gen Xer, we kind of grew up with this stage of like really building the statistics and the numbers around like, okay, every click does a what, sends to a call to action, which does a what. It triggers that they landed on the offer page, which then triggers that they purchased or they left or they did whatever, right? Like we have this whole, like we were kind of the generation that developed that whole reporting sequence. How do you report? Like, what is the process behind, like, I get that you're building this whole contractual relationship. You're getting people to mention, you're getting people to post. Like, is it still kind of the same, using the same metrics? Are you tracking like click-throughs? Are you tracking, like, what can you do to track those metrics? And how do you measure a successful campaign with a social media influencer versus, say, an email campaign?
Yeah, brilliant question. So when we think about social, right, it is a funnel, like everything. Social media and influencer marketing is a new form of a funnel. And so traditionally we have TikTok at the top of the funnel, and then middle of the funnel is more Instagram, and then the bottom of the funnel is where you're getting people's email, you're doing newsletter, really that own channel. So when we think about it like a brand awareness machine. And so when we use influencers on TikTok, let's say we do a larger scale campaign or a brand comes on and we do it. What first and foremost, we look at the brand awareness level and we say, what did we do from an impression, a likes, a comments, and a share portion? So we collect all that data per post. It's updated every hour. It's shown on our dashboards. And then the idea is to get that content out in the world. Now, a good campaign, right, typically in the e-com space, is one that has true goals. Like you just mentioned, a lot of times it's to drive the sale. So what we do is we actually partner with Shopify. So we have an integration with Shopify. So any brand built on Shopify, what we're able to do is allow for the brands to sync their Shopify e-commerce store. Now through our platform, when they work with, let's say I'm working with you, Todd, I can through the platform give you Todd 10, Todd 20, whatever it is, a discount code.
Gotcha.
Now, when you're creating that content and posting it, let's say you get 100,000 impressions, all that data is tracked on our dashboard. But what we're looking for is the ROI element, because I know that I paid you $250 for the post. Now, all the ROI and the sales generated from those discount codes via the posts, those are all generated on the platform as well. And so not only are we able to boost this brand awareness machine, that's part one. Part two, we're able to drive sales and track those. And part three, what we have, which very much differentiates us, is we have what's called our content licensing rights. So when a brand and an influencer work together and the influencer makes content for the brand, all that content is submitted through our platform and approved through our platform. Once that content is approved, think a 15-second ad or a 30-second video. The content is going on the creator's social media page, but with our platform, we actually manage the licensing rights of that content and we give that to the brand. So every piece of content that's created by the influencers is owned in perpetuity by the brands. And then what we do is we actually are training a lot of the brands up to teach them, hey, you just got 10 pieces of content from these influencers. Let's use some of those in your paid ads. Let's put them on your website. Let's put them in your social media. Let's start to integrate.
Because if they do a story and it's gone in 24 hours, right? I mean, that's beautiful. Okay. I love that.
Yeah. And so what we do really is a lot of businesses will come to us and say, we need new ads. And then the ads that the influencers are creating, what is called UGC, which is an acronym for user generated content. Those ads, it shows real people like you and I using real products. Those perform 300 to 400% better than any static or animation ad. So we have companies that will come to us. They're able to drop their cost per acquisition on their ads by hundreds of percents within a day because they're using real people talking about real brands and real products. And so there's a lot
Yeah.
of layers to the influencer marketing onion, you could say.
Yeah.
And, we as a team and as a platform are doing everything we can to not only peel them back, but to educate new brands,
I
existing
love it.
brands, and future brands on how to best do this.
I love it. Now, this is really, really cool stuff. And for those listening, if you haven't dabbled or haven't made the move to jump into an influencer marketing campaign, now is the time. I mean, this really is, it's an established thing now. It's not this go out and figure it out on your own type thing. Companies like Glewee, and I highly recommend you talk to Christian about using Glewee for your marketing campaign. I know I'm preparing both myself and for 2 clients of mine, I'm trying to prepare some campaigns to test with, and it's fascinating. Like this is a world that a traditional marketer like myself have known that we need to do it, but we haven't engaged yet because it was just too loosey goosey. And so what you're doing with Glewee is connecting those dots and making it feel like it's a legit marketing campaign instead of just some, hey dude, you want to say my name and I'll send you $20 or I'll whatever, like on a conversion. This
Yep.
is legit. So looking back at the growth of Glewee, like you now are several years into the business, at least 5 years officially, 3 years prior to that kind of figuring it out. But now that you've been officially operating as a business, what would you say looking back has been one of your key decisions that you've made to kind of get you to where you're at today? And where do you see it taking you moving forward?
So I'd say because we have our brands and our influencer side, and with that, different messaging, different marketing, different placements,
Totally.
etc. The whole marketing mix is changing. So when we focus on brand, and we look back, I think what really worked for us was our hunch to go towards the SMBs. So when you think about
Yeah.
originally, right, when you sit back and think as we were building this, who wants to do
Yeah.
influencer marketing, you think about your Cokes, your Pepsi, your Sephora, these big
Sure.
companies that have all the budget. And then we looked back at ourselves. We took a moment to look in the mirror and we said, but we are not the agencies that can get in front of them. We want to create something for, like I mentioned, those companies that are calibers below them that aspire to be like them. And I think for us,
Right.
we took an avenue that we wanted to go for the SMB, the small
Yeah.
business, and we
Yeah.
wanted to give them those tools. And so what we did is we created our messaging framework, right? Because at our core, like a mission internally and externally, is we want to make Glewee the marketplace that is fast, easy, and affordable for influencer marketing. And that's what it is.
Right.
So being able to go after the small businesses really shift how our platform looks and how it works and how it feels, and all our
Yeah.
messaging and marketing, positioning it towards the small businesses. We are one of them. We are a small business.
Right.
We are a platform. We are growing. We are doing this for the other small businesses that want to do it. And I think it was an incredible moment of growth for us, because when it really started to work, we saw over 5,500 small businesses join our platform last year. And just being able to position ourselves as the go-to for small businesses, it really worked. And it
Love
was
it.
it was incredible. I mean, we were over the moon. We still are. And as we
Yeah.
scale that up,
It's exciting.
we aren't going for the enterprise client, because that's not who we are, right? We want to build for the small businesses, and then we want to go middle market, and we want to serve the enterprise client. But first and foremost, we want to empower those that know they're not at that level with the tools they need to build their brand to that level.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so for you, looking at enterprise, you're like, yeah, it would be cool, but we're not quite there yet ourselves. So how can we really speak their language? You're looking at the small startups thinking, okay, like a lot of small startups are thinking though, okay, wait a second though. I'm a small town company. How would social media influencing work for me versus someone that's got a national brand or can operate in 50 states or can do these types of things? Like, how do you sell that to someone who's a plumber, who's an independent coffee shop owner, who's whatever? Like, how does that work on a local geographic targeting level?
So what we like to do primarily is we like to go for products. So e-commerce is really like a space that we prefer most, just based on the tracking we talked about earlier. So I'd like to kind of gear that towards the e-commerce brand owner. So let's say that you've built a product and it's a product you're very passionate about. And let's say you're getting into distribution. You're in one store, you're in a couple stores.
Okay.
You have your online store, you have your social medias. What we like to do with them is we're able to say to them, well, our platform starts at $99 a month to access the platform, the 15,000 influencers, the infrastructure, etc. And
Right.
influencer marketing with us starts at $100 per post. So
Gotcha.
instead of going out and spending thousands and thousands of dollars on a marketing agency that is going to create meta ads for you that are going
Yes.
to be $110 per thousand views, right? A CPM.
Right.
What we
Right. Right.
say
Right.
is,
Right.
well, why don't we start by getting a few influencers for $100, $250, $300 each? Let's get that content for you and let's use
Yeah.
it everywhere. Like I talked about earlier, that
I
UGC,
love
let's put
this.
the
Yeah.
content on your website. Let's have those influencers write you reviews. Let's start to build your brand and show real people using it. And the small businesses, they come back to us and they say, we are able to elevate our brand tenfold because now people come to our website, our landing pages, our checkout pages, and they see
Right.
people like them using the product. And so,
Totally.
where that's really where we start, is there. Going to exactly your question, the smaller, more experience based or service based companies, we really
Yeah.
look for those that have the ability to scale national, just because
Yeah.
influencer marketing, it's very national based, just because
Right. Right. Right.
the echo chamber is huge. um
Yeah.
so I mean, there are ways on TikTok that you can geofence and hyper locate based on like micro influencers and their niche locational
Right.
following. But we really
Right.
like to operate. We like to work best with brands
It makes sense.
that have the scale.
It makes sense. All right. So the key decisions that you made was to really understand your avatar, right? I mean, is that kind of what we're saying here? Is that you've really
Absolutely.
kind of come to know that, like, okay, we're looking for these growth stage. We're looking for these people that really want to become what we want to become. We want to grow with them.
Yep.
Is that kind of one of your key decision that you feel like you can attribute to the growth so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, understanding our customer and building something for them. I think that that made us who we are, not only as people, as a team, but also as a business.
Right. So 5,500 acquisitions last year. What do you envision you being able to do this year in 2025? And what are you
So
changing? Are you changing anything?
yeah, so I mean, we've reshifted our, like, internally, like our rev models, our acquisition strats, the
Yeah.
entirety of our onboarding flows and everything. So we're actually looking to be more hyper focused on the brands and the industries that we know best, right? And I'll just
Yeah.
fire
Yeah.
them off: lifestyle, health and wellness, beauty, cosmetics, fitness, supplements, right? Those are kind of top six that we
Got it.
specialize in. So we want to look for brands that are hyper focused in those industries, and we want to
Right.
scale up. We want 2,000 or so really, really, really scalable brands that are going to be able to use influencer marketing in an amazing way
Cool.
this year. We want them to be not
Cool.
only on our platform, but active on our platform, using the platform daily, engaging in influencer marketing, definitely weekly/monthly, and scale with them.
Cool. Very cool. All right. This is really, really awesome. So how does this relate to YouTube? Just for the ones that want to know, like, I know that you talked about, which I thought was interesting, top of funnel being a TikTok and middle funnel being more of an Instagram influencer. It's so funny because my whole, like, ever since social came out, top of funnel was always just social. And now you're like digressing into, like, okay, let's dive a little deeper. Actually, Instagram, this is a really cool conversation for me as a marketer, but as a business owner, you know, for years we've always kind of understood that social is there and it's like a post today, gone tomorrow,
Yep.
because it is generally, like, it disappears. Whereas YouTube is more of a platform where it's a searchable, like, it's the second largest search engine in the world,
hmm
owned by the largest, and now you've got this searchable content piece that is always there. Are you working with companies and brands to take the content produced for these top of funnel applications and trying to kind of keyword them into something that can be more searchable, findable on YouTube? Or is that even part of the strategy, or is that something you're expecting them to do on their own? Or have you thought about that far ahead, just to say, hey, it would be smart to really nail down the conversion into a YouTube piece?
So there's a bunch of ways, like, we could go with this one. I'd say that
Yeah.
I do want to challenge your original statement. So yes, YouTube,
Yeah.
owned by Google, is it's probably the second largest search engine owned by the number one. Completely correct. But
Right.
as we look at how social is changing and evolving, TikTok is
Okay.
actually number 3 right now in the true ranking. And
Is that right?
For a Gen Z audience, data will show Gen Z and millennials are going to TikTok to search for a product or service before they're going to YouTube. At the end of
Hilarious.
2024, this report came out. So that will only become more amplified in 2025. So
I believe
people,
that. I believe that. I was on a trip with my 18-year-old last summer, and we were looking up things to do in the place we were at, and she went
Mhm.
to TikTok before anything else. So
Yep. And
I
so
I validate that as a Gen Xer.
I think what we need to talk about here is like the
Yeah.
idea of content and these two forms of content. There's long form
Yeah.
content and there's short form content. Long
For
form
sure.
content is anything over 3 minutes, primarily on YouTube, right? Where
Yeah.
people are sharing vlogs, they're sharing experiences, they're teaching you
Right.
something, right? It's a very one-to-one experience, how you and I are talking one-to-one.
Right.
Something like a TikTok or an Instagram Reels, they're traditionally sub 60 seconds, but it's really categorized as 0 seconds or like 1 second to 3 minutes. That's like short form
Right.
content. Short form
For sure.
content is where people are searching because they want these quick hits, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of like when you're
Yeah.
eating and you're really hungry, you want something quick, right? They want that quickly digestible, bite-sized
Yeah.
piece of content on either Instagram
Right.
Reels or on TikTok. And YouTube is going to do this with YouTube Shorts as well. I have high
Yeah.
hopes for YouTube Shorts. But people
They're
want
doing it.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, people want really quick, searchable things. And so all the
Yeah.
social media platforms are these new engines of search within the
Yeah.
platforms themselves that all connect back to Google. So I think that to answer your question, people need to not only be focusing their SEO and how their brand is positioned and marketable through social on just YouTube. I think YouTube is
Yeah.
for sure the strongest because of their
Right.
Google and their 99% domain authority. But
Right.
on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, making sure that your brand appears everywhere. So all of your
Right.
social media accounts having the same @name, having very similar bios, having your business and your description in your bio, having a link in your bio to your landing page, making sure all these are like interconnected and linked will
For
allow
sure.
you to exist not only on social, but on search for social. And these are great ways. If you're a new company or you're a local company, get out
Right.
there, get your social media set up because from an SEO perspective, Google is looking for authority. And if all 5 of the big social medias are pointing your name back to your socials, your brand
Right.
starts to become more authoritative because Google's starting
For
to
sure.
rank it. It's free
For
backlink.
sure.
It's an incredible way to exist in a whole new
Right.
paradigm of search within the layer of search.
Christian, I love this conversation, and I feel bad that I haven't taken this down the normal path because I'm so curious about the product and the service you guys are providing. And I apologize because I really wanted to tell your story. I mean, 5-6 years in business as a 26-year-old is a fun story to tell, and I've just been diving into the product because I think so much of what you're doing is so misunderstood by people of the older generations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate this. I hope I haven't like ruined the format here in any way.
No.
And for those of you listening, I hope you do check out Glewee because it really is, as I'm starting to learn more about it, I'm very, intentional about how I market. And I really want to delve into this a lot more for me personally and my brands and things I'm doing, and for clients. And so I apologize, but this is fantastic. Really good content. But I do want to touch on that a little bit, Christian, because you are young, and there's a lot of young people who are very hesitant to feel like they can start a business, or they don't feel like they can like move into being an employer and having employees and building teams and stuff like that. Where are you at in that, and how do you feel like you've grown over the last 5 years of operationally building and establishing a footprint as a business owner as opposed to just an idea on social?
Yeah. I mean, wow. I could walk you down. I say memory lane, but it really isn't memory lane because I feel like it's
You're
just
actively in it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
my life is really broken down into years of 4. So like the best years, the most important years of my life were high school, right? It was the most foundational. It was the most changing. It made me who I was,
Right.
and maybe the learner and the educator and et cetera who I am. Then I went over to
Right.
college, right, where I was very challenged academically, where like it was very rigorous. It was all advertising, all marketing. And
Sure.
then after
Sure.
that is this 4-year period, and I always call this my real life MBA, right? And so we are all getting our
For
MBA
sure.
today because we're
I felt
learning,
that way on my first business out of college too.
right?
It was
So
just so
we're
much
learning
learning.
not only
Yeah.
from our advisors and the senior leaders we have around us, but also from each other and as people and
Yeah.
interpersonally and building teams. Like we've gone through the highs and the lows, and
For
We've
sure.
jumped up in the air. I've sat with my hands in my face crying at my desk, right? Like we've done it all. And I think you don't
Yeah.
really get that at like a very standard job where you have like a beautiful salary and
No.
everything else. But I think that as a person, right, and as a team, we've grown tenfold over this experience. If I went back in time and spoke to who we were years ago, I'd
Yeah.
say the same thing, right? I'd say like just keep going, right? Just keep building and it's going to be really fun. But yeah, there's highs, there's low. I mean, we've staffed up our organization north of 30 people. We've cut that back down. We've gone
Love it.
through scale. We've gone through the fights. We've gone through acquisitions
Yeah.
being great and not great, and like moments in
Love
time
it.
that I remember wanting to pull my hair out. And like I was just so stressed, right? But like that all
Yeah.
makes us who we are. And I think that journey and that ride, right, it has matured us and myself like I said,
For sure.
tenfold, right? I've just become a better person. I've become like a better leader to myself, intrinsically,
Yeah.
extrinsically. I've been able to really just identify, goals in life and
Yeah.
know what it's like to reach them, because it's not like we have a big company around us that if we personally don't reach the goals are
Right.
still met. It's up to us. It's
Right.
led by us. It's driven by us. And the idea of collaboration and teamwork, like if you don't pull your weight, the weight doesn't
Yeah.
get pulled, and we have a lot of weight on that wagon to pull, right? So we all work around the clock to bring it to
Yeah.
life. And it really boils down to, it's the same spark and
Love it.
dedication and energy we had from day one. Like that hasn't gone out
Right.
one bit amongst any of us.
Right. Right. Well, this has been refreshing. In all honesty, I love this conversation. I love what your business is doing, and I love how you built your business. And I will say it's refreshing in that, a lot of Gen Xers will joke because, we grew up drinking out of hoses, and we did, stupid stuff. We were the last pre-internet people that existed on the earth. And so we joke a lot that, millennials were just kind of like this pampered handheld device holding generation, and they were, but
Yeah.
they've gotten stronger as they gotten older.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Gen Z, to me, has a lot of unique people like you, and I would say most of my kids fall into the same bucket, where they really want to explore the world that Gen X was in, and they want to just explode with stuff the same way. They have a different energy than some different peoples. And so I love what you're doing. I love the energy you bring, and I think it's so cool to listen to you describe your journey. And I hope it impacts some of the listeners here, because there's a lot of people in your age group, in your generation, who are trying to figure out, what am I going to be when I grow up? And it's not the way it used to be. You don't even need, I'm guessing none of what you're doing and learning right now in the last 4-year segment you referred to is anything you learned about in college, because they don't teach you that in college.
Yeah.
But it is stuff that you got to learn in life. And so I'm fascinated. I enjoy this conversation. And honestly, again, one more plug. I mean, I'm going to use Glewee for a campaign that I'm already thinking of right now. And I've just been in the back of my head thinking about the whole conversation. For those of you that are thinking about it in the back of your head too, make sure you reach out, give it a shot, and let's see where we can go with this, because it is the next internet. It is the next www. Like, what do I do? Social influencer marketing is dominant. And if we learned anything from the 2024 election, it is more powerful than media. It is more powerful than TV. It is more powerful than Facebook. It is this next egg that we need to land in to really propel our brands forward. So
Todd,
I
you,
love
you
it.
couldn't have said that better. And just to close out, right, if anyone's listening, in order to join our platform, you can go to glewee.com. That's GLEWEE.com. And you can sign up for a free trial of our platform, where you'll have full access to the platform. You're able to launch campaigns, find influencers you want to work with. You will be time bound
Love
on
it.
that trial. We'll onboard you. We'll teach you how to do it. And we will hold your hand every step of the way to find the right influencer for your brand. And you can start doing influencer marketing at just $100 per campaign in collaboration, all the way up
Love
to
it.
$10,000, $100,000. We will
Love
work
it.
with any budget possible, because what we want to do is bring influencer marketing to that next wave of businesses and really allow for it to scale and grow exponentially. Because Todd, like you said, it is the new era of social media, and it's the new way people discover products, services, ideas, emotions, and have fun.
and you're not held back by stupid algorithms. You are tapping into someone else's algorithm.
You're using someone else's algorithm who, at the end of the day, is still subject to the algorithms. I'm not. Yes.
Right. But I mean, your ad is not suppressed because you didn't add the right keyword. Like
That is
you're being influenced by people who know the algorithm, know their audience, and know how to get to them. Whereas you, like me, the Gen Xers who don't understand how to do that the right way, these guys do, and they're already there, and so they're just bringing your brand into the spotlight that they're already basking in. So I love
Reaching 1 million eyeballs, quite literally, has never been easier.
Love it. Okay, Christian, thank you for taking the time to do this. And for those listening, honestly, this has been so educational for me. I know it is for a lot of you listening. So tap in, buckle up, and test some campaigns out. This is so easy. Thanks so much, Christian.
Todd, thank you very much.
What did I tell you about Chris? He is just a stud. I love his perspective on marketing, the way that he does it, the way he's built his business, and the way he's been able to grow in the past few years is just fascinating to me. I can remember being his age and building a growing business, and I absolutely loved it. Didn't realize how cool it was until after I sold that business, and I was like, hey, that was fun. And Chris is awesome. I love the way he's growing it. I love the team he's built around him and how he's able to produce revenue doing the thing that he knows and loves the most. So check out this interview. I'm glad you liked the interview. Check out his product. I'm deep diving into it right now, and I'm so excited about it because I've got some campaigns I'm going to run. And if you haven't done so already, check it out. Glewee.com, GLEWEE.com, and go make your move on Glewee. By the way, not sure what's keeping you from growing? Go to growthreadiness.com, take our free assessment, and understand what's keeping you from growing and scaling your business. Chances are it's something easy, something simple. Check it out though. Go take that assessment at growthreadiness.com. Are you growth ready? Check it out.